Good morning, friends. I am excited for today. Today's job is really just a fun job. I am really looking forward to it, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it too. I'm heading to go grab my trailer right now, and then we are heading out to Rancho Cordova. I'm working for a great client that I've worked for many times before. It's called the Sacramento Children's Museum. It's not really a museum per se. It's more of a place where you take your kids to go play and stuff like that. So every time I go there, it's awesome because they always have me build something crazy. Like one time I built like this kaleidoscope thing like on a ship that they had made, and I put flooring. I've actually have other vlogs there too, but I've done a lot of cool things there. Today is pretty exciting because we are installing a beehive, an inside beehive. So like an inside beehive where kids can see the bees all like buzzing around, and then it's gonna go through the wall so the bees can come and go as they want. And that's the main thing that I'm doing. I'm hanging the beehive, and I am installing the pipe going through the wall. So I'm not really sure what to expect. I hope that there's not like bees already. We're gonna go and we're gonna find out. And yeah, it's gonna be great. So anyways, let's get to it. It's gonna be fun. All right, so this is what we're gonna install. Hopefully you guys can imagine a little bit, but this is where the bees are gonna be. This is a clear piece. There'll be another clear piece here. And it's actually gonna pivot on this mount right here. So this guy, I'm gonna mount it about right there. And then on the back here, this is where the bees come in right here. And then they come in this hole right here. They're gonna come through this 1.5 inch PVC. So this basically needs to be drilled about right there. It's about an 8-inch thick wall. So I looked up and down and the outside, and there's nothing going on out there. So I think we're gonna be good to drill there. So got our SDS. So let's get busy and make some noise. So first things first here, I need to drill a 2-inch hole through this 8 to 10-inch concrete wall. So that ought to be fun. So what I got is the SDS, and gonna basically drill a pilot hole with that so that I could get my hole saw started. Got a 2-inch diamond blade hole saw. So I think I'm gonna be using a 1/4 inch cement bit to go through, just to kind of give me a good center mark for my hole. All right, we drilled through. Let's see what we look like here. So, all right, here we are. It looks like we popped out a piece of brick, but I think that'll be fine because our covering here is actually gonna be pretty big. So I think that's fine. We gotta make a 2-inch hole anyways. So we look like we're angled down a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, that'll be fine. I don't know where that piece of brick went. But let's get back in and start drilling our 2-inch hole here. Here's a quick little tour of the Sac Children's Museum. As you can see here, you might see some other videos that I've done. I've done a lot of other videos at this location. They have definitely had a lot of great work, a lot of fun work. Installed some flooring and things like that, as well as built some of the attractions here. It's a pretty fun place. So I'm gonna start drilling this hole here with a 2-inch diamond hole saw. I'm using my Ryobi hammer drill, basically just because the SDS doesn't have the right, or doesn't accept the right bit. I know I could get an adapter for that and all that, but this is what I had. This Ryobi drill I bought when I first started my handyman business, this hammer drill. So it was fairly inexpensive. So I've put it through a lot of hard work, and it just keeps going, at least thus far. And so here's the outside. Wanted to get the outside drilled at least through that brick there. I am curious who here has a hammer drill, and what brand do you have? Do you have the real expensive stuff, or do you kind of go with cheap stuff like the Ryobi? For me, it's like if I need it and it's kind of a disposable thing, I just get a Ryobi if I don't use it very often. That's why I went ahead and got the Ryobi, because I don't really use a hammer drill very often. So I feel like that was kind of the good bet for this. So that's what I went with. Be curious to hear what you guys got. All right. I at least wanted to get through the brick here, because these things, this is a 2-inch diamond hole saw, and it's definitely not long enough to go through this 8-inch wall. So I'm gonna try and go as far as I can, basically, but I mainly wanted to get through the brick because that's brittle. So that stuff there, I'm thinking I'm gonna drill small holes all the way around the outside and chip it out all the way through. But I'm gonna try and drill basically as far as these drill bits will let me do it on both sides, and then go ahead and chip out. But that there is a great start. Gives me a semi-clean cut there, and like I said, my mount will cover where that has cut out, or where that has chipped out. So we're looking good. Keep plugging away here. As most of you guys know, using a hole saw, one of the hardest parts is getting the plug out that you drilled out. But we got that out, and want to go ahead and drill the outside as deep as I can, because at this point I don't really know how far I'm going to be able to get going from the inside and the outside. So I just want to drill basically as deep as I can go with this hole saw, and then possibly try some other methods of getting the rest of the way through if I don't make it all the way through. But for right now, just trying to drill as far as I can. And like I explained a little bit later, for these Milwaukee hole saws, for a job of this size, drilling through this size of a wall, this Milwaukee hole saw is basically a material at this point, not really a tool. So I'm kind of just counting as it kind of as a loss. You know, I'm just going to use it. It's probably going to burn out, and then we'll replace it down the road if ever needed. But that's basically how I'm running it to the customer. So I'll be billing the customer for these hole saws as a material, just in this case, because it's such a heck of a job, where I know that you're supposed to be using this with water, but I'm not. So it is what it is, but that's kind of how I'm billing this job, you know, doing it hourly plus, you know, materials and things like that. So the materials would include like the construction adhesive and these hole saws and, you know, things of that sort. Okay, I've gone about 3 inches. Okay, I've gone about 3 inches into there. So I think that's as far as I could go from out here, because that 3 inches bring me right up to here. I don't really want to take this off in case I grab a rock in here. I don't want that drill to twist on me. So I'm gonna go inside, drill this way. I think this wall is a little bit thicker than 8 inches. I think it might be more like 8.5, maybe even 9. Because before I had a 12-foot, guy. I mean a 12-inch drill bit pointing through, and I had maybe 2 or 3 inches hanging out. So that might put us closer to 9 or 10. I'm gonna go inside, see what I could do. If there's a little bit in the center, I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out. But as long as we can get kind of a clean cut from the beginning, the outside and the inside of the hole, that will be great. So let's go inside and see what we can do. I did buy another one of these bits. I know you're supposed to use water with them, but I'm not. I did buy another one of those bits, so once this one dies, I'll switch to the other bit. Things like this, drilling through a 9-inch, you know, concrete wall, I consider this as a job material, not really a tool. This is kind of disposable at this point, because when it's done drilling through 9 inches, it's going to be pretty much ready to be thrown away. But if not, we'll keep it. So let's go inside, see what we can do. Look at that. Piece of rebar. It's a big piece of rebar. That's pretty amazing. Looking good. Let's see. About 1.5 inches, but that piece of rebar is stopping us from going any further. So, got to get that out so we can go deeper. That's crazy. Okay, it looks like there's a piece of rebar there. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I know that that thing could drill through it. And then I could see the other side. So, we're getting there. Okay, we're almost through. We just got that piece of rebar that's currently cut about halfway through, and then we'll be all done. But this guy's smoking on me, so hope he can finish the job. Man, that Ryobi looks like it's about to give up the ghost. So with this, I have tried to resort to a bunch of different things. I tried my my SDS hammer drill. I also tried a Sawzall or the hacksaw from Milwaukee. Tried a few different things to cut through this, just because that Ryobi really isn't cutting in. The hole saw is kind of getting down to its last leg. This is the second hole saw that I bought, so kind of giving me some trouble. And that Ryobi is really sparking and smoking like crazy. Okay, well, that's all she wrote for this Ryobi drill here. If you saw, it was sparking like crazy, and then it made some short circuit noise, and then it started smoking. So we're done with that. We're gonna see what else we could do. Not the first Ryobi tool that's ever gave out on me, but to be fair, I put it through a lot of hard work here. Man, it smells in here of that thing burning up. So we're almost through. Just a little bit more of that rebar that we need to cut through. All right, finally got that rebar out. Now it's time to place my 1.5 inch PVC. And as I explain later, you'll understand why I cut that PVC in 2 pieces. Basically, because our drill was not exactly straight from the inside and the outside. That's one of the problems with drilling something so wide or so thick that you don't have a hole saw that goes deep enough. But at the end of the day, we made it work. So basically, this step is to insert that 1.5 inch PVC close in, with enough room to mount our mount our hinge there. So I'm going to go ahead and mount the hinge next, and I'll be using that with concrete anchors. I'll be showing that here in a second, how I do that. But I think at the end of the day, that was a pretty good way to install that. Right now I'm just kind of test fitting it, making sure that everything works fine, and then I will go ahead and glue everything up with construction adhesive and bolt everything down to the wall. So here we go. I'm marking basically my bolt holes. I want to kind of make them as straight as possible so that it looks, you know, looks as good as possible when I'm all done with everything. So I'm pre-drilling the hinge mount, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark my holes when I put it up there on the wall, all nice and plumb. And then I'm going to go ahead and drill the wall. Once I get those plumb marks done, drill the wall for some red heads that I'm going to put in the wall, some wedge anchors basically. I'll show you guys how those work here in a second. I'm going to mark those with my SDS. Again, that SDS is a killer. Such an amazing tool. Before I got this SDS, I used that Ryobi hammer drill every time I ever need a hammer drill. And since even I used a SDS, I think Frank had one that his dad gave him a while back. And ever since using that one, I was sold on the SDS. It was just such an amazing deal to have. I had to get my own. And we actually got the SDS to bust up concrete first, and then we learned about the demo hammer that we got from Harbor Freight. As you guys have seen in many other videos, that has really just changed the ball game for doing fences. So right now I'm installing those red heads, the wedge anchors in the wall. Basically just drill holes to the appropriate size. It'll tell you what size you want to drill them to on the wedge anchor instructions on the back of the packet. Then you get them all out, you put the nuts on, and then you hammer them into the concrete, and then you put whatever you need to on it, and then you basically lock down that nut, and that locks it down so that the wedge basically wedges into the concrete itself. And I'll show you guys a little bit more of how that works here in a few minutes. Basically just hammer those to the correct depth, then you put them on, then you put your nuts on, and then you tighten the nuts down, and that basically activates that wedge, and it just wedges itself into the concrete. This also works great for like putting posts on, you know, concrete slabs for you know, awnings or overhangs or things like that. They work great for that. So there I am installing my hinge piece there over the top, and then just hammering the, you know, the screws side to side basically to make them fit over my pre-drills. And I think at one point I had to take the hinge portion off and just, you know, widen up the pre-drills a little bit just so I could get them over the wedge anchors a little bit easier. But at this point the wedge anchors aren't wedged into the concrete, so they're a little bit malleable, a little bit able to move. But once you get them all set in place, it's going to make a really strong connection. And then even on top of that, before I tightened them down for the last bit, I went ahead and put some construction adhesive down just fully cement it on there. So it's not only held on there with 4 wedge anchors, but it's also held on there with some really good construction adhesive. So my main thing was I didn't know how heavy this thing was going to be. I was told that it needed to be heavy to hold beehives or things of honey, and I have no clue how much that stuff weighs, so I just went ahead and kind of went overkill on the whole thing. That was my philosophy going into this job. Just go overkill so the thing doesn't fall off on a kid. Okay, so I got my wedge anchors installed. If you're curious, this is what they are. These 3 3/4 wedge anchors by 3/8. So those are in. Tighten those up. Put 2 here, 2 there. So I'm going to take this whole unit off, and I'm going to put some construction adhesive on it, and then I'm going to tighten these bolts back up, and then we're going to go ahead and go on the outside, put our pipe in the outside. Should be good to go. All right, we got our construction adhesive behind there. Got all of our screws in. So now, let's go ahead and tighten everything up. That's what I want, that construction adhesive to ooze out. I like that. Perfect. Perfect. Let me get a... Okay, so one slight issue is the drill bit that we had, or the hole saw that we had, wasn't long enough to go through. So if you see, that pipe is a little bit higher than this pipe, but there's going to be plenty of space to get in. As you can see, that's where the bees are going to get in, through that little slit in the bottom there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this pipe in there. It's going to be a smidge lower than the other one. That's why we couldn't do one single pipe, but at the end of the day, it's going to work great, because if you see, the hole that the bees are going into is considerably smaller than the pipe. So that's why I'm not extremely worried about it. So I'm going to get this cleaned out as much as I can here, and then going to go ahead and glue that one in. And then this is our covering here that goes on the wall. That's what that's going to look like. So hoping the construction adhesive holds that firmly. I might want to put something up here to hold it up. I think I might do that, actually get a 2x4 in my truck just to prop it up here. I think that would probably be wise. So okay, what I'm going to do here to measure this is stick this one in there, and I'm going to make a mark where it's flush, and then we're going to stick this end in here and make a mark where that's flush. And then we basically need to add the depth of this to that overall length, and that's what we'll cut. So this depth, we're gonna call it a 1/2 inch. So it's 5.5 inches, so we're gonna cut it at 6. I'm actually gonna go 5 7/8, which will at the end of the day be perfect. All right, let's see what our longest, 6 1/8. Let's see if that, what that looks like there. That's way too long. I don't know what we did wrong here, but something's not right. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna add a 1/2 inch. So we did that one wrong there. Okay. So 4 1/4. Yeah, I measured this completely wrong. I don't know what I was even measuring. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. 4 1/4. We're gonna add 1/2 inch. So cut it at. Yeah, I think I cut on the wrong line. I don't know. Sometimes you cut stuff wrong. That's how it happens. Let's double check here. Alright, we got to cut the size, and works good. I'm going to prop it up with this PVC pipe here once we get it in the correct position. So first step, I'm going to try and clean it the back. I took a look in there and it was full of construction adhesive. I put too much in. Sometimes I get a little overzealous. So, just gonna clean it off a little bit. Just so the bees have a way to get in there. That'll be perfect. Put that there. Okay. You might be asking how many times I'm gonna take this thing off. As many times as it takes. That's my answer. Gotta get it right. All right, pretend you're a bee. There you go, right in there. And I don't know if you guys can see in there. There's your little hole. You're gonna go up in there and you're gonna make a nest right inside. All right, now I just gotta clean up this stuff and then we'll be ready to go back inside. Probably gonna leave this here for a little while. All right, here is our setup here. This is obviously going to be clear. This is just coating, so this is going to rotate like this, but as you can see, it's actually hitting on that bottom bolt right there. So I'm just going to trim that bolt down a little bit. All right, so we figured it out. We had to remove this hinge that was here in the middle, because the hinge was essentially in the way. When it would right there, it would hit the hinge, so we moved it. And I also cut these two bolts down here just so it would clear them. It clears these top ones, no problem. So this is our final deal. So you could view this side of the colony, then you could turn it over and view this side of the colony through the clear glass. So that's awesome. And then it has some air holes up here and also some sound holes down here so you can hear them and they get enough fresh air. And basically this is, you remove, where is it? You remove this screw and this metal tab comes out, and that allows them to access the pipe that we installed there. So pretty cool. I guess the guy's coming in a few weeks. Well, now she can call him now that it's up. Then he's gonna take this unit, go fill it with bees and bring it back and then install it like it is here. But this mount was the main thing. The mount and the pipe going through was the main thing, so that's awesome. All right, that was a great job. That turned out excellent. She's super happy with it. I told her to let me know when it gets some bees in it. I'll bring my family down here. It's a great place to be. Just for some reference on time, there's a lot going on with the coronavirus right now. This is probably recorded a few weeks before you see it. So today is March 16th. Yesterday the CDC said, you know, they advise against gatherings more than 50 people. So this Sacramento Children's Museum actually closed down. This is their first day closed, probably for another 8 weeks. So kind of a bummer. Was just talking to some of the staff members. They're really bummed out about that. But they're also on some sense relieved because they've been trying to keep everything clean for the last, you know, however long this coronavirus thing's been going on. So they're closed down. There's a lot of places closing down. And I'm sure when you guys watch this video, there'll be a lot more places closed down, and who knows. But you know, at the end of the day, we keep plugging along. I absolutely love this handyman business because it gives us the freedom to make our own schedules and the freedom to have the skills and the knowledge and continue pursuing new things to do, right? So I think that no matter what happens, there's always going to be work that needs to be done. And maybe it'll be a little bit different than what you used to do, but I think at the end of the day, we're going to be all right. At the end of the day, I think the biggest implications from this virus are going to be economical, just because, you know, everything's shutting down, right? So who knows what's going to happen. This is kind of me talking to you from the past. So leave me a comment in the comment section to let me know what the future looks like. But I'll already know because I'll be watching it. So, but anyways, like this video, leave me a comment, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Keep on keeping on, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Have a great day, guys.